This is my cat. It's a bit crazy right now. Yeah, I got my cat like 1 year ago, and I got it when it was really small. Right now, it's still in the kitty phase, I think, where it wants to play a lot and jump around and go crazy, but I'm planning to have it for the rest of my life, so let's see in a couple of years if it wants to cuddle more, because right now it's kind of hard to get it to stay in bed.
Jumped onto the paranoia, has been used.
I first started playing League when I was around 10 or 11, I think. And I played it ever since. I played it since it came out 10 years ago, so it's been a really long time. Almost everything I do, if I like it and have a passion for it, then I want to win. If I don't have a passion for it, then I don't really give a oh yeah, can I use that word? But yeah, if I'm passionate about it, then I really want to win. And League is one of the things I'm really passionate about since I've played it for so long. So yeah, I'm a really competitive person when it comes to that.
Look to have found all their picks they need. They've still got the Baron, they've got the Ace. It should just be game.
All right, this is a big match. Godsent versus Ence. And I think the only way to put it is that fate is in their own hands. Both of them can get positions in this group based on their own results, which is probably the best place to be for either of these squads. You're not relying on anybody else. It's all down to your own hard work.
And I think, like, what got these teams here? How have they evolved throughout the season to actually get to this point, right? Both teams are one of the teams that I would mention as they actually evolved from the get-go. They came in as fairly new teams who had to find their identity. Let's stick with that word, because I think it's really good at actually explaining to us how these teams got in there. Godsent was a team that was for many regarded as an only 1-3-1 team who could only play weak side, bot side, and they had to play a supportive style all the time for their junglers. That's not how it went. We have seen them try to claim more of a easy to execute team fight composition too, where they actually have had success in one game, which is one of their victories, but we take those, right? And I actually think that obviously that they are still fighting for their own for their own stakes here, and I think that they have deserved to be at this point, and many consider them being ready for relegation from the get-go if people expected them to be the singularity of this group. So I'm kind of fond of where they have gotten. No matter how these games turns out, I think they can be proud of what they achieved as a team, coming in with the hard expectations for them too.
And honestly, I'm looking over at Ence, and at the start, it was sort of the same thing. It was that kind of team looking to find what playstyle suits them the most, which lane they want to play through, and then suddenly we see a big improvement coming from Ence, and we're like, wow, these guys don't have a ceiling, and then they hit that ceiling really quickly, and where we actually think that Ence could potentially be challenging the top teams, they've actually sort of plateaued, sort of right there in the middle of the pack. You're like, you look like the team that's going to take the 4th spot, but before you look like the team who's going to take the 1st spot, and now you have Godsent chasing to take that last spot off of you. So it's kind of like a chase and run situation here with Ence and Godsent, where I feel like whichever team comes on top now could potentially be taking away each other's chances for playoffs.
For me, it always felt like Ence were kind of smarter than their players. Like, they tried to run before they could walk. And so it felt like a lot of their early victories, like sometimes you'd watch them and be like, wow, that was actually like quite creative. I really liked what they were doing there. And then they would completely fall apart on an individual level. So again, it's consistency that has plagued them. I still give them the edge, specifically in this matchup against Godsent. But I think that this is kind of one of those matchups where draft is going to really heavily depend. And you almost have to just ask who got the easier to execute draft. And that would probably be the winner between these two squads.
And I actually agree with Frosker in here. I actually think that Ence has the slight edge against Godsent. But if Godsent would be to take this game, I think one of the key players coming in here would be C-Boy. Throughout the different styles we've seen of Godsent, he has always been the fundamental pillar keeping the team together. He is the one that is setting up the plays, being the playmaker himself. We have seen him be facilitative through laners once with the Graves pick too. He always looks good, even in their losses. I'm impressed with this guy. So if anything is going to go good from Godsent, it's going to come from C-Boy.
On the other side, though, I also think that Taiki is also a pretty strong jungler, especially with like ganking. So I think it is always going to come up to matchup. Like I agree with you in the sense that like C-Boy can pop off. I remember watching him on the Nidalee and be like, okay, yeah, this guy is actually a decent jungler. But you know, you can't just be a hard carry jungler in these leagues, especially not against this caliber of team. It's about how well you need to plug into your laners, and I think that's where a lot of junglers, especially at this level, are really stalling out.
You guys can argue about junglers and who's better and who's gonna be on top and who's gonna get the better draft. I don't care. Sefe down the bot lane for Ence.
My boy Jeff
has been a game breaker, okay? He's like Froscurian's favorite as well. This guy is so good at setting up team fights for his team late game. His decision making, he first of all has eagle eyes all over the map. The play could be happening bot and he'll make the play up top side. He is so creative and he's specifically so quick to pull the trigger on a play, and you do see that his team is actually following through. I've seen him pick off ADCs from the other side of the map. This guy you need to keep an eye on, because if he gets his hands on a Thresh or a Bard, it's looking really deep for Godsent.
Thank you, Trouble. Preach the strength of that guy on Bard. He is so good. He actually makes that team's macro bearable.
I think
Bearable?
Yes.
Don't be preaching like they're bearable.
To be fair, Ence late game has been faltering and they have been struggling in macro. It has been one of the talking points that we have been hitting on. But I also think that what we have seen when they get put off these comfort picks, as you've been talking about, we have seen them trying to be creative. We have seen a quintop into a gangplank completely get failed and just get dumpstered on. And that's the thing that worries me about the Ence roster. It is what happens when you're no longer in comfort, where you're no longer relying on your individual skill to carry the lack of macro you have dispelled. Well, maybe Godsent will be the team to actually display that for us.
Well, guys, we are very near to the draft, and I think this is one of those games where it's so close that I'm actually going to ask you specifically before we go into draft who you think is going to win. Not why, because I don't have time, but very quickly, are you going to stick with your prediction after we had a discussion, or we're going to go with something different? I'll start with you, Frosk. Who do you think is going to take it?
I put Ence here. I feel like the likelihood of them having a more consistent draft or an easier to execute draft is stronger, so that's why I picked them.
Cool. Go book.
Easy for Ence. I mean, there's
easy for
nothing more to say.
Wow, you didn't even stutter there.
I'll follow up on the hype train and go with Sefe making insane play-making decisions and winning the game through that.
There we go. Easy for Ence, easy for predictions. Let's hand it over to our casters. No, not even done drafting, Scoundrel. Come on. We're gonna
Are you okay?
No, I'm not. Let's go to a break. Bye.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. like Bonnie and Clyde. Left, like, right till we die. Down like thieves in the night.
And with that, we're going to our casters hit parade. No, wait, wrong part again. It's going to be the draft. It is Godsent on the blue side. And Trouble told me to commit to it. I committed to it. Godsent on the blue side. Ence on the red side.
I respect that.
It's a Trundle ban, followed up by the volley ban.
No, we're banning junglers.
We're banning
I
the
mean-
junglers.
we talked about it too, right? Taiki has really shown that he likes that he's really fond of this Trundle pick. Same can be said with C-Boy. Still really glad about this Volibear. And over on the other hand, Trouble talked about Kevo's Ezreal. Well, here you have it. It's gone together with the Ashe. Are we going to see the bot ban? I don't know. We might see it now.
I think at this point, we're like individually targeting. It's like Taiki plays Trundle, ban it out. C-Boy plays Volibear, ban it out. Kevo plays Ezreal really well, ban it out. Hoist plays Ashe, ban it out. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to also see, oh, the ban actually went through. But
First pick
Simply
bot, first.
plays a lot of Orianna, so that makes sense as well. It's like completely targeted.
With an Orianna ban, do you think that increases the likelihood of the Syndra? Because it's been really hard to predict this region, because I feel like Twisted Fate is still infinitely popular here. Syndra could go through. I mean, you could grab an Azir priority pick. I feel like with an Ori ban, unless you're just like a god tier Ori player, maybe you want to go for the Syndra or something like a LeBlanc, because now you can play a burst in the mid lane.
Well, actually, both Migma and Hoist are not play the Syndra. Hoist specifically plays a lot of AP bot laners as well. But since a lot of the junglers are off of the table, C-Boy wants to get something that he feels very comfortable with. I feel like both teams are hitting comfort champions right here. So it's kind of like shove whichever one you can get, whatever you're most comfortable with.
No.
There it is.
Is this the assassin I was asking for? Is it the assassin?
Maybe.
Yeah, so let's talk about this cartridge, because it actually made it through, and not only as the blue side first pick, no, it was on the red side instead, because we didn't have any priority on that on the side of Godsent then. So we're either going to see Simply with the cartridge, Kevo with the cartridge, or even Taiki to try and match the clear speed of the Graves, if that's what he wants to do with this cartridge. Over on the other side though, they grabbed that Senna. Are they going to knack it with the Wukong too, because he's really good against the MI Brawl laners? We'll see.
I actually think it's really clever drafting coming out of Ence right now that you have two flex picks. You have no idea where those champions are going to end up. Like you were just talking about Goldberg, they could even end up in the bot lane together. Oh, can you imagine the push power between Karthus and Karma in a bot lane, especially when you have Senna? Ah, you will live under the other team's tower. Yeah, pick a bard. That'll save you.
Whoa,
what?
that's
I
just
actually-
confusing to me.
I actually think it will, because with the Senna, you can sort of match. If the Karthus is not bot lane, you can match and try and save someone on the other side of the map with the shield. And you can do the same thing for your lane with the Bard. So I do like these two picks. I do find them very targeted towards the Karthus. It's like survive, 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 survive whenever the Karthus presses the R. I don't know how fun their lane will be, but yeah.
Oh, I cannot wait for the timing when Karthus goes to press R and Bard's like trying to line it up perfectly. He's like, can I do it? And then just stasises his entire team. Oh.
Kind of looking to see what they want to ban here, because already now you can see they got a quite global composition, and they're quite AP heavy at the
That's
same
not an
time.
assassin.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
exactly.
say.
There we go. Kassadin goes out, and we also have the likes of Galio that could be enabled here with the push priority he can get in the mid lane, with the same time matching to Twisted Faith roam. But on the other hand, you don't really know what to ban in Godsent. Is it junglers? Is it top laners? Is it supports? We don't know. All we know is they're still not picked an AD, and that could also be the cards. So what are we really doing with that second ban?
I think you
That'll be the
ban
shit.
global. Yeah, I think you ban global like Shin and Gangplank, because you're like, I know that one of those champions isn't a top lane, but they're gonna be everywhere, so I want to get rid of Cannon Barrage. I want to get rid of Stand United, get that out of the game. And then Trouble, I really like your point about taking away the cast in it. I expected the Galio that Goldberg was talking about because Galio itemizes MR so easily and effectively in his build path. And since it's double AP, or could potentially be double AP, Jungle Karthus, Twisted Fate mid, although we don't really know yet. Maybe that's why they're holding off and just being like, get that Azir priority out of here. We want our Twisted Fate to actually compete. Oh, they're going to let Gangplank go through. Maybe does Millie just not play it?
He does play it.
Yeah, Nilly's a Gangplank player. I actually was just looking something up during this draft because I did the other day tweet out saying, I'm pretty sure I've never seen a Senna win in the NLC. I have actually got some stats for you now. Senna is on one of the lowest win rates in our entire league over a good number of games played. She's at 20%. So she's at a very, very, very low win rate for the number of games played overall. And actually, Bard is at a 100% win rate. So they're just, maybe it's just balancing each other in the bot lane, you know? Maybe
There can only be one.
I have a feeling that the Jax here was specifically something that Champion didn't feel like playing against, because she's playing the Camille, she's playing the Fioras, he's playing the auto attack champions a lot, so Jax tends to do really well against that. And since he wants to pick, he's gonna pick before Nila will, he wants to make sure that he's gonna feel very comfortable. Now at this point, I do feel like we could potentially see the Camille. I'm almost certain if the Camille doesn't get locked in here with the Galio, okay, I'm done.
I mean, Goldberg, you talked about it. We hit on it as well. There's the easy Galio pickup and the trouble. You were like, Camille works really well with Galio. I wonder why. That's a cannonball composition if I've ever seen one.
I think that... yeah, exactly this. Like, Renekton pick coming in here too with the global composition, because this Twisted Faith is going to have a field day punishing Champion on this Camille pick together with the Requiem from the Karthus. Like, you're just gonna get bombarded in this top lane, and you can really just set Nilla up for success together with the Kha'Zix against the Graves. We talked about this jungle matchup, C-Boy versus Taiki. Who's gonna come up on top?
What I would say, though, is that this is like, if Godsent are looking to draft something to give themselves a platform for success, I feel like Champion's Camille is a pretty good platform for success for that top laner. It's one of his best champions. And like you said, there is a pretty nasty combo with the Galio. You know, I like the way that Frost described it, the cannonball, obviously no Gangplank in the game, but the cannonball style combo that they've got going on there. So I'm pretty excited. I think this is actually a really, really fun draft for both squads. I think they're both drafted to their own individual strengths, and I think that this is probably the best setup that we could possibly have for a game that really has a very high set of stakes to work with. Going to hand it over to our casters. Oh wait, no, I'm not, because
no, it's okay.
I think
go for it.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay. Sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. I saw that Trouble maybe wanted to talk, but now I'm actually going to hand over to my casters the fourth time in about the 10 minutes. Yeah, go.
Take it away.
Thank you very much, Alan. Hello and welcome. We're getting ready to go into game number 3. Godsent versus Ence. The fate of both of these teams is very much in their hands here. Orcs, talk to me about team comps. What are we looking at?
I am a little bit concerned for Godsent because although they have the ability to force these fights, although they have the ability to pick up on this initiation, they need to be doing so, because if Champion falls behind as the side lane win condition, I really think this team might struggle. You're going to be losing priority in the bot lane against Karthus, Karma. You can have a TF who's going everywhere on the map, and if you sync him up with the Kha'Zix, they actually have kill potential on the Galio early. Not a lot of champions can do that, but TF Kha'Zix has great CC with great burst damage, so I'm feeling Ence favored here. You know, the predictions are very Ence favored. I don't think this is a situation where Godsent don't have win conditions, but they need to have early momentum. They need to find windows to attack Ence, and they need to utilize that to give a win condition to the side of Champion later on. Because I think there will come a point where they're just trying to hit a brick wall unless they can find some really good angles to get picks.
It's interesting seeing but doesn't take Seth's Bard away from him. Seth has had a lot of map impact, being able to move around the map and kind of set up. On the Karthus, you can kind of shove the lane. He can play this relatively safe. He should be okay if he gets left alone by Seth on a roam. He has that wall of pain to work with. He has fairly decent range on his Q on the lane waves to be able to clear through the waves. So Kevin should be okay to play weak side here and just silently farm up. And then, like they were hitting on, if they just send Taiki and Nilly up to the top lane, Simply can also Destiny up. Kevo will have Requiem to rain down. Champion is just going to get annihilated this lane. But this is a champion we do think of. I think of 2 champions when I think of Champion, Fiora and Camille. Let's see if he can make it work here versus Nilly on the Renekton.
Yeah, I'm just glad this isn't a Fiora in all honesty, but like Renekton does just smash Camille, and you're gonna have the fact that Ence can very easily play towards that and cause more issues. And your weak side's gonna handle better. Hoyes and Pedersen definitely have tools that they can use to utilize to help factor in that. You know, if you see an opportunity where Pedersen can start to move around the map, that is gonna be a great aspect. But again, you're just going to hard lose priority permanently. And it's not like you can pressure this bot lane, because if you try and go aggressive against a Karthus with exhaust with a Karma, they could actually probably 2v3 you. Or even if you execute it perfectly, there's a good chance that Ents start to flow down and punish in return. So I am very scared for Godsent. They need a strong early game. They need to find some early momentum. Otherwise, they're going to be having a rough time.
Well, looks like Ents are actually looking for a late invade into Godsent's jungle. They will be spotted out by that ward. Beautifully placed down there. But so will be a red buff still. We might just see the map get split in half early, which means Nilly's going to have to play a little bit safe.
So I think this is a good move from Godsent overall, because essentially it means you can play heavily towards Champion, who is that big win condition. My concern, though, is going to be the bot lane for the side of Godsent, because even if Nilly falls behind, it's not the worst thing in the world. You have Taiki, you can obviously lean on your solo laners later on. So if you do go into a 4-1 or 1-3-1, he can threaten Champion and shut them down. But ultimately, the reason I'm concerned is because Ence set the tempo of this lane in the bot side. They can push whenever they want, and if Simply and Taiki come down, they can very easily look to dive the likes of Hoyes and Pedersen. That is where the concern is. You can see already they're being zoned off here.
Yeah, Kevo just stepping up. Zoning by Hoy's already been chunked pretty heavily here.
Do have the sustain in the lane on the back of having the center, but still obviously not ideal. Both junglers just clearing pretty healthily through the red side.
Although,
but you do notice that Taiki is a little bit further ahead, having already cleared out the Krogs as well.
Yeah, well, Seaboy actually didn't do Krogs.
Didn't do Krogs at all. Maybe he didn't leave one. I was watching bot lane at the time.
Oh, he may have left one. Can I observe a quickly, Spanner? Hey, he left one. Okay, sorry. I completely misread that.
So he has left one. This is actually a bit more damaging to Taiki's jungle, because both his Raptors and Krogs aren't going to respawn. But the end result is Taiki's actually ahead in experience right now. You can see he's level 3, Seaboy still level 2. So in the long term, this favors Seaboy. In the short term, Taiki's got a little bit more power. So if he looks to re-invade on the second spawning of Godsent's red side jungle, they could find some benefit there. But for now, both junglers just going to go to their blue sides and clear through. You can see that Seaboy went and picked up the Scuttle Crab. Was able to do so because of that mid-priority Mikma has right now. The Taiki, he can take bot lane Scuttle fairly easily thanks to the support of Kevo and Steph. So pretty even trading so far.
And I think, honestly, for Ents, they're happy with the way this swap has worked out. It allows Kevo and Steph to get the advantage they want to get in the lane. Look at the CS deficit between Hoyes and Kevo right now. It's 11. Actually, not 11, it's 7. He got a bunch of minions just as I went to bring that point up, but he is up in CS right now. Hoyes down an entire wave, effectively, to Kevo, and these early kind of first 4 minutes means Kevo's been able to farm up a storm. Steph's going to move out of lane, start to ward up around any gank potentials from coming in from Seaboy, and now Ents don't have their jungler on this side of the map, but they are okay because they've been able to set up the vision. They should just be able to play safe, and they've got their lead.
If we look at Taiki here, this is where it's going to start hitting for Ents. So he's just cleared through his top 2 camps, but there were none left. It was just clearing through the small Krog and clearing through the minion, whereas Seaboy here, he's got a full camp to start clearing through. So he's going to be pretty happy in this situation. So this is the knock-on effect of that early play. Taiki, he's lost a little bit of momentum under his sails. And on top of that, Nilly, often with the Renekton, you want to really be applying pressure around your level 3 spike. That's why Renekton is just super strong, especially against the Camille. And he wasn't able to do that in this situation. He didn't have the support of his jungler. The map was split. So if you look top lane, it's actually a CS lead for Champion right now.
Yeah, Champion's up pretty heavily. Taiki actually looking to take away this Ocean Drake. Obviously, with the bust to the Taste of Fear, does do it fairly quickly. Steph will get spotted out as the pink ward gets placed down, and Simply's making his way over, has that gold card, but gets blinded out for the moment. Seaboy jumps in forwards, and now Ents have this numbers advantage. Simply gets knocked up and taunted. Is gonna have to flash the wall, but already Pedersen gets the stun off onto one. Kevo gets was able to hold his life for the moment as they do get the snare. Taiki flashes forward. Mikma just about goes down, and Taiki finds first blood. Godsent bringing in the backup, though, as Champagne comes over the hook shot, able to get a kill onto Taiki. Nearly a little bit too slow to the fight. It's a double kill. Been picked up for Champagne. The rest of the team just unable to answer out. With the Glacial Augment on Senna, they may chase for a little bit more. Champagne, hook shot should be coming up soon. But the blast cone gets popped, and they get sent packing. Godsent will get Ocean Drake.
Just beautifully played by Godsent, in all honesty. We saw a situation where Taiki felt like, I have nothing to do. I have nothing on the map. Let's go start the dragon. The thing is, C-Boy was stronger than him, and this Ocean Dragon did so much damage to Taiki. I mean, hold the thought, more fighting coming.
Are they still going? C-Boy's chunked, actually. They've got the Destiny. Ence is just going to say, thank you for the leash. We'll take this dragon. Although, C-Boy coming in. Is he going to get the smite off? He gets it. The secure. Godsent, get out.
Huge win there for Godsent. But yeah, so level lead for C-Boy. Taiki being chunked out by the dragon, and his hand was forced. Taiki had no option there other than to start up the dragon in this situation. And we can see from the replay, he was already chunked out. C-Boy and Mikma played it really well to chunk out at the start. Pedersen getting the harass off. And at this point, it looks like it's being turned around. But then the TP comes in, and the first TP critically is for Godsent. Camille joins the fight and just gets tons of gold. All those low HP people from the side of Ence are forfeit. And as much as it's not a massive advantage in terms of kills, it's all going towards this Camille. We already talked about how the goal for Ence was to shut down Champion early. They have missed that mark at this point. Camille, 2-0 with decent CS, is in a really comfortable spot.
Boy's able to break the Teverus, but Durson actually trades off really effectively onto Seth there. Pokes him out. C-Boy's making his way over. Doesn't have that collateral damage available yet, but even so, Godsent quite happy. Hoy's healing up. There's a lot of sustain in this center Bard lane.
And that's the thing, at this point, C-Boy is happy just to lean down towards bot side because Champion is fine. He's got past the rough stage of the matchup untouched. So this was all a knock-on effect from the level 1 invade, forcing the map split. C-Boy specifically punishing Taiki, whereas Taiki tried to go for a healthier clear. And the end result was Taiki was forcing the dragon. Camille TP's down first, tons of kills. And it's had a huge knock-on effect from that first decision and the subsequent ones from C-Boy. It has put Champion into this comfortable spot he's in now, even in CS, up in kills against Renekton. And this is where things get a little bit shaky for Ence, because your Destiny's not up for another minute or so. Yes, you now have the Requiem, but Godsent are happy just to let their side lane win condition scale up and play for things like this Herald. They're feeling confident in their strength right now.
Level 6s have come in at this point, though. But to see what Taiki's decided to upgrade, simply work, getting close towards that Destiny coming up again, and maybe we see that pressure onto Champion we wanted to see earlier on. But for now, Godsent are the ones going in for the lane swap. Ence a little bit too slow to the play here, and this Rift Herald already half HP. Feels like Ence aren't really going to be able to step up, as Simply has the gold card fired up and ready to go, but C-Boy jumping in. Kevo's making his way over. Gold card's not actually going to find its mark. Taiki needs to get a good old smite on this time. Had the dragon taken away, but once again, with the smite, is C-Boy's able to pick it up. Kevo does try to put some damage back in. He gets himself a double kill in return. But Taiki smiting has been terrible. That's the only word I could use to describe it. It's been terrible this game.
Wasn't able to find it there. C-Boy does get it, but they lose 2 members. Initially, looked like it could have been a good situation for Godsent with the flank from Mikma, but they just didn't have the damage potential to follow through in that fight. Taiki able to execute, and already we're seeing potentially... Oh, Engage coming in.
But Kevo has nowhere to go, has no support to keep him alive. The CC's on. Seth's trying to make their way forward to get the shield off. Can he get it in time? Is able to do so as Hoyes gets tethered up. Requiem's going to rain down into the railgun. Hoyes finds the shutdown kill. Destiny's coming in and Simply goes golden from the Fate's Call. Now they've got the ultimate coming in from Mikma, trying to keep Pedersen alive. Simply able to dive away for the moment, but the taunt is available, and Simply is going to get locked up as he throws out the wild cards. Ence just overbuying, over-aggressing, and getting bitten back by Godsent. Beautifully played there.
Oh, I mean, it was so nice from Godsent there, but Kevo, you're against a Bard and a Senna. You can't just walk away and expect to ult, and... Oh, looks like we're getting the replay cancelled there. Seen a bit more action coming out here.
Yeah. C-Boy already pretty low HP, checked out. And for now, they are just going to step away. C-Boy isn't able to use the Rift Herald, but he did get himself a plate in the mid lane.
I mean, the initial play is actually really nice from Kevo to survive this. Buying a lot of time and trunking Pedersen out, putting the threat onto him, flashing to get the shield from Karma as well. This is all good stuff. But all you have to do is not just press R here. It's so easy to counter by both. I mean, even if Hoyes didn't get the ult off there, Pedersen flashed to be able to pick it up. You can't go for those when you're that low on HP. If anything, waiting would have been the better thing because then you still have the Requiem available. You wasted a huge cooldown there and allowed both Hoyes and Pedersen to get away. Just a big mistake, but Godsent, honestly, playing these really well. The skirmishes have very much been on their favor, other than that one around the Herald.
C-Boy gonna make his way over, try and see if they can get first turret blood in the top lane. Simply is here with the wave clear. Has the red card and that gold card available, so he just finds a little bit of light poke off onto Mikma. Pedersen's about in the wings and Simply doesn't have his jungler by. Taiki's in the dragon pit at the moment. As Steph will spot out Pedersen, has the chains to work with, will connect. But C-Boy's still there, and the numbers advantage heavily in favor of Ence. They don't have the Requiem. I don't think Simply's gonna be able to defend this tower. Steph's making his way over. C-Boy does take a fair amount of damage.
Yeah, that's low enough to take it, though. First tower in the hands of Godsent already. Regis advantage, but they did critically miss out on the dragons. That soul will be delayed, but I think they're okay with this. I think ultimately Godsent have the ability to force, so if they have a gold lead, they can just keep forcing fights. And they do have that late game win condition off champion. And if we look at what's happened in the top lane matchup, nothing, which is great. The Camille's still scaling, hasn't been challenged, still 2-0, still even in CS for Renekton. And the longer this goes on, the more of a problem champion is going to become. Godsent got to be feeling good about how this game has gone so far, even though there's a little bit of concern around the CS differences mid and bot lane. They have this win condition that's ramping up for them.
We are looking at Mountain Souls again today. Been pretty much, I think it's been all Mountain Souls today. Oh no, we had Notion in the first game. Mountain Soul will be nice for champion to actually continue if he plays it in just in a 1v1 versus Nilly. That extra shielding, the extra resistances means that,
It's nice
like I said, he outscales him. On top of that, it's just going to get even harder to deal with.
Yeah, it's nice against Kevo as well. Just having that extra shield, potentially making things a bit more difficult to pick off with the Requiem. He's actually fishing here. Taiki and Steph are coming down, so champion could be caught out here. This is the punish they do need.
Has got that hook shot, going to throw it out, instantly takes the stun. Taiki jumps in forward, they get the follow-up, and that's a massive railgun to fire through. The Fate's Call's going to get used as the Requiem rains down. Not enough as Champion sends. Taiki popping is able to get himself the kill. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but in comes Mikma onto Steph. Nearly trying to get the damage off, but the collateral damage will just pop Nilly's health bar. Mikma goes forward to the proto belt, and Steph has got the shields, has trying to juke away from Mikma for the moment. Colossal smash in, the tether the flash. Steph gets him underneath the tower. The Zonius is going to get used. Retail, oh my lord, what is going on? It's an absolute fiesta. Steph dodging everything, but finally goes down. Teleport's coming in by Simply, trying to get that gold card ready to go. Gets it off onto C-Boy, throws out the cards, but everybody else is coming in now. Can they try and get on in time? The taunt's going to connect and all of the damage to follow. Teleport's coming in, the fight is continuing to go. Simply has a gold card. Lily jumps in, another teleport's being used. The grand entrance is going down. Champagne gets the stun off to Nilly, and Kevo is now joined into the fray. Nilly's going to go down as C-Boy gets the kill. It was an absolute cluster bot lane, but Godsent come up on top.
Massive win there for Godsent. It was so clustered, so much fighting, so much back and forth, but ultimately they were there to respond to the attempt on a champion. He survived so long here thanks to the assistance from this bottle. It was honestly just beautiful. This play coming out from Pedersen. The ult coming in, cancels the Requiem, buys enough time, steals the fate of Taiki, and yes, champion goes down, but everyone else can swarm in. Nilly's 1v2, unable to do anything against the Graves, and then although Steph survives for a long time, doesn't ultimately get anything from this. He just ends up baiting more members of Ence into this situation. Nice little cute flash here to keep him alive, stopwatch, and then the follow-up from the Bard essentially seals the fate of this Karma, and clip's still going. There's a lot more to this one because essentially they come in and this could have been a dicey situation, but again, it's Pedersen on this Bard. Beautiful portal to get them into a more favorable spot. simply goes in 1v3 and just ends up getting chunked out there. And although he doesn't go down instantly, he's now super useless in the fight. And then we see Nilly join, no ultimate in this situation. The response comes in, and it's just a ton of back and forth.
Mikey?
Champion.
Oh, Champion finds him, pulls him back into the Hextech ultimatum. Shields there by Seth to keep him up for the moment. Taiki trying to get this damage off in time as Seth saves Taiki's life. Nilly also makes his way over. Champion, though, already being a massive nuisance, able to hold his own 1 versus 2.
I mean, look, the items got a Triforce, and critically there, Taiki couldn't kill him because of the invisibility. But for Kha'Zix to get decimated that hard is not a good situation to be in. Herald gets thrown down mid. This is the tower gone. And things are just going better and better for Godsent in this situation. They, honestly, from that level 1
is
play...
this a second charge? No.
Oh, that is so bad.
Wow.
Come on, guys.
Carvers has a very, very slow auto attack. It's very, very slow.
But yeah, from the level 1 setup for Godsent, the momentum they've found, Champion being unlocked, and then the responses coming in to any aggression from Ence. Godsent have been playing this one perfectly, and they're now in a really comfortable spot. C-Boy super strong, Hoi super strong, Champion ahead in levels and gold compared to Nilly. We talked about this being a later game win condition. It's been activated already, and now Godsent looking to pick up that second dragon for themselves. And I just don't think Ence can do anything about it.
It's only the second one, so they don't need to contest it. I said they don't need to contest it. There you go, Taiki steps away. Fate's cool, actually lands onto Seth, and Seth he's going to take the CC. Wall of Pain gets used by Kevo, but Seth is just going to get popped by Hoy's railgun. Easy pickup for Godsend.
It's crazy that we talk so much about Seth's Bard. Pedersen's Bard is the new thing now. He has been doing so... Maybe it's just Bard. Maybe it's just Bard, but honestly, this game he's been on form, setting up so many plays. The ults have come in clutch in a lot of scenarios. And like that, ult to find the pick on a Seth. They execute him, portal away Pedersen so he's not caught out. Just really effective play from the champion.
Really going for a 1v1 versus Champion. Actually comes out pretty good for it as Taiki made
Doesn't
for the
look like a
assassination
1v1.
off. This time he can go for it. The Destiny's going to get used. Taiki pops the invisibility and simply just mops up as Taiki comes in with the Void Spikes. Good setup there for Ence, and this is what we want to see them do earlier on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely would have preferred to see that earlier, but I think it shows how the Camille isn't an auto win, because there's still this possibility that Ence can collapse on it. Now, when Baron is up and available, that isn't as easy to go for. You can't just bring 3 members down bot lane and expect to be able to take a kill on Camille without losing the Baron, but ultimately he was successful there. And able to just slow down Champion scaling in this one. Now, Engage coming in from Mikma.
Yeah, Mikma comes in with the taunt. The flashes go out, so Ence are able to make their way away. That was a flash by Kevo Burn. Mikma held his. It was just a taunt he channeled there, so pretty good win there for Godsend on that front.
Yeah, it's a bit over-aggressive there from Ence. You put a lot of eggs into that bot lane basket. You knew that the rest of your team won resets. No reason for Seth and Kevo to step up there, and they do end up getting punished, but ultimately still keep their lives. Gold lead 2,500 in favor of Champion. I'd actually like to have a look at the individual goal differences. You can see the big one for me is that 1,200 lead top lane. Clearly, Nilly not having the game go the way he wanted on that Renekton, but you can see jungle, there's about 1,600 difference, 80 carry, 800. It's only really mid lane where Simply's pulling ahead. And obviously gets the extra gold from CSing on Twisted Fate, but could become a bit of a concern, because that's one thing is that later on, Karthus does scale well, as does the Kha'Zix. Galio will eventually fall off, and the Senna's damage isn't that significant later on compared to a traditional lady carry.
They've been trying to hold this tower. It's already pretty low though, as Boys should just be able to finish it up. Pedersen comes in with one last slap of the meeps. And that is the 3rd turret going down, Ence. Now looking to see if they can punish onto C-Boy. Taiki will spot him out though as he gets caught out on the wards.
I mean, that's
just going to have to back off.
From the Kha'Zix spikes, that slow is so insane, actually. You saw C-Boy there. It looked like he was basically rooted.
It's the upgrade. I think it's claws and spikes for this?
No, I'm pretty sure
spikes?
it's ult and spikes.
Okay.
People aren't really going claws because essentially it's only the cooldown reduction, and if there's ever a situation where you need to queue more than one, then you're hitting the wrong target, to be honest.
It looks like Ence are now setting up towards this top side, maybe looking to see if they can make a play onto Champen, although Steph and Taiki have made their way down towards the mid lane. Hoyes is on his own, has got that Banshees though. A bit of survivability as Taiki makes his way forward. The Destiny's going to get used, and Taiki gets instantly chunked out. So much damage thrown onto him. Destiny gets used towards the bot lane just so Simply can go get that wave.
I think it is the claws. We had this discussion yesterday where it's really hard to see, but you only had 2 uses of the camo there. It's definitely spikes, yeah. I think it's the claws though. Maybe you can zoom in on Kha'Zix and try and wick it out.
Where is he? He's in the jungle. He's in the base. Oh, he's running backwards and forwards.
Okay, yeah, they look like the elongated claws.
Taiki, can you hold still? I have no idea. We had a whole discussion on the UKLC yesterday about this, where Orcs looked up all the skins, tried to figure out which one's which, and we still have no idea.
It's because they should have something in the UI that just says this is what he's taking. Yeah. I mean, we'll be able to see if he does an isolated Q, and you can see the cooldown on it. So we'll see on these Krugs. I like having a little segue to discuss this. Oh, never mind, he stopped doing Krugs. Oh well. But yeah, you only used 2 camos before, so I'm thinking it is the claws that have been upgraded. It's like they get like a little bit curved bit at the end, but I can never tell. Is they look a bit curved, I guess?
Go do the crab. I want to see what you're taking. Okay, he's not going to go do the crab. He's actually going to go do the Baron.
Okay, so it's not claws. Because that's a full 3-second cooldown. I mean, it's so impossible to tell, honestly. I need to buy every Kha'Zix skin and study them religiously.
Is that your excuse? I love this. Really, really sneaky Baron from Ence, and everybody else has been caught sleeping. They finally get spotted out on this ward as Champion's going to make his way over, but it's 3,000 health on the Baron already. Pedersen's coming in, does have that Fate's Call available, does throw it down as it lands onto Taiki and Nilly, and now it's just a matter of trying to get the mop up. Nilly has to pop the Dominus as Champion does spot out Taiki. Here comes the ulti as the Galio joins into the fray. C-Boy finds himself a rampage kill, and now Ence is just being chased down on all fronts. Seth trying to get the shield over the wall. Taiki has to jump away as they do get the stun off, but simply being chased down. It's a double kill onto Seth. Seth has to run away as well, and Godsent just mop up. Only one gets the Baron.
What were they doing? I mean, Nilly has flash. Simply has flash. Taiki had flash. Why are you trying to fight that? You've got the Baron. Just get out. It's so simple. You've got the Baron. Just leave. Why do you need to fight that when you already have your Renekton chunked out? You're trapped in the middle of the pit. Like, I understand Taiki was dead there because he got ulted by the Camille, but even so, Nilly just sort of chilled at the edge of the pit for a good 20 seconds, and Simply, I am most annoyed with him. He ulted in. He actually ulted back in. He could have just ulted away, and he's like, nah, guys, we're fighting this. It's like, get out with the Baron. Only Seth survived with the Baron, but it's like, I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's crazy.
The sad thing about that fight is not the fight. The Baron is Seth and Kevo were the reason that Godsent knew this was happening.
So, like, Nilly could just flash out in this situation. Simply ult in to a Galio taunt. What are you doing? Taiki does try to flash out at the end, but it's like, why are they trying to stay and fight this? Just accept that you've got the Baron and you need to get out. And they end up overstaying. They end up losing 4 Barons as a result, and then only Seth can get away. I mean, in that situation, the call is clear. Guys, you got the Baron. Let's leave. That's what the comm should have been. Well, except in finish.
Nilly will be able to take a tower off the back of this, but as a bit of a consolation prize, is a massive team fight mop-up from Godsent.
Does slow things down in terms of the momentum, because obviously we missed out that Baron, but Godsent's still in the lead, picked up a ton of gold there, got the 3rd dragon, one away from that soul, still able to apply a lot of the momentum. It does mean we're waiting 4 minutes for any significant neutral objectives to be up, so does slow the pace down a little bit there. We see the individual gold numbers in front of us. Hoy still ahead compared to Kevo. C-Boy significantly ahead. This Graves is massive, but Simply has been farming up pretty consistently. He's in a pretty strong spot. That is the concerning one, this Camille in the side lane. And even the team fights, in all honesty, the backline dive pretty effective. Just able to shut out the likes of Taiki.
Champion has been very effective. Destiny's getting used as they're going to look for Hoyes. Heroic entrance lands and Simply takes a tempered fate to the face as he gets knocked up by the Justice Punch, and Pedersen finds the kill. Ence just looks scattered as Kevin has to flash away, gets caught out by the Hextech Ultimatum. He's going down now. Nothing he can do about that. Ence just throwing themselves into Godsent.
Yeah, Ence started that. It's like Ence walking up to, you know, the biggest person and just like slapping them across the face and then getting punched back in return. Why are you opting into that? It was never going to go well. You know they have the Galio to ult in and specifically give a magic damage shield against a Twisted Fate. Poise was never going down there. They have the Bard ult as well. I don't know. This Ence roster just seems a bit lost this game, and they keep opting into these bad fights. Now, Godsent looking to push up on this turret here, should get some damage. But Simply and Kevo responding pretty soon.
See, boy, he's just gonna hard win that fight out versus Taiki.
Yeah, I mean, that's isolated.
He's got a 2-level lead.
It's a Death Dance Graves as well.
Yeah.
You know, that lethality isn't doing anything to him, especially if you can stack up the grit with your dash. This Graves, super strong at the moment. Remember, this was the priority for Godsent. They first picked this. We talked a lot on the desk about C-Boy being a big strong point for the team, and it's absolutely proved it this game, I think. Early pathing was smart, set the team up for success, and he's managed to continue his lead throughout the game, being a massive threat on the champion. And we're now looking at 2 minutes from those big neutrals we were talking about earlier. The Soul for Godsent or the Baron would both be really punishing for Ence.
$5,000 gold up for Godsent right now. We take a look at the items. Zonya's Proto Belt onto Mikma. So Kevo's ult is going to be really, really hard to use around that, especially when you've got a Tempted Fate as well. Ghostblade, Knight's Edge, and the Muramana finished up into Hoys.
Edge of Night.
Edge of Night, sorry. Knight's Edge. I'm getting the order messed up with Knight's Vow.
Yeah, I was like, wait. Hoys has a Knight's... Wait, it's not a Knight's Vow. Maybe it should be. Maybe you should have a Knight's Vow. Why not? Knight's Vow, Edge of Night. How many other weapons have Knight in them? I think that's
or
it.
Edge. Infinity Edge.
Can you make a chain with items? Just like words and items and chain them along? How far can you go? So we got like Knight's Vow, Edge of Night, Infinity Edge.
There is no other Infinity item. It ends fairly quick there.
Well, we got 3. Let's see
if you want to use other items, you could go Triforce, Force of Nature, and then that
isn't in the game anymore.
It's in Nexus Blitz.
Oh, are we playing Nexus Blitz right now? Because I thought this was Summoner's Rift.
Well, Mikma's getting jumped onto. Fate's cool. Means Mikma is out of there. Beautifully placed by Pedersen. His Bard has been stellar. And now it looks like Godsent are the ones on the hunt. They are looking to turn this play around. Taiki over the wall. Like you said, there's the Death Dance C-Boy. It's been so hard to deal with. And Steph actually stepping up to try and clear a ward. Meanwhile, Champen is just off in the mid lane.
Yeah, now someone has to answer that wave. If you actually look top, there's a massive wave there as well. But actually, forget that. Look at the flank coming in from Champen.
Oh, no. Ence looking to try and get away. Taiki has been isolated. The Blast Cone's already been used. Kevo has that Requiem available. The Fate's Call is down. But this should just be Mountain Soul picked up for Godsent. Ence are just left scratching their heads. They have no idea what to do here.
If we look top lane right now, this is when I want to highlight what Godsent's doing well. Look at this setup. They have this massive wave pushing in here. Needs to be answered. They had Champion push that wave in mid. This setup for this dragon was perfect. It forced Ence's hand, and they just weren't able to do anything. And if they did opt into that, even if they win the fight, they're dealing with these waves that are pushed up. They're not going to get anything. They're going to miss farm. It just feels like Godsent have a really good understanding of how to play around the map, which is very different than what we've seen traditionally from them, because they've struggled at this point of the game in a lot of their matches. Here, they're doing it really well. This is very much an improved Godsent who are playing the map smart. And now, with that soul in hand, it's going to become even harder for Ence to find those executions. Simply won't be close to having the damage to 100-0 someone, Taiki either. And Kevo's Requiem has to deal with extra resistances and the extra shields. Just a really comfortable spot for Godsent to start forcing around the Baron. So the play I want to see here is set up the vision control in this red side jungle of Ence and this Baron. Look for someone to step up, and then you can very easily make a pick. You have Champion with TP, you have Mikma with TP. They can TP in for flanks if they're playing the side lanes. Or alternatively, you can just walk in on the flank and find direct access onto them. You have the Bard passage to follow up as well. So very difficult here for Ence to contest this one.
Oh, no. They get the shield off onto Taiki. Grand entrance comes in as well.
Jungler gone. There you go. Getting the hit.
Jungler dead, like you said. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing they can really do at this point. Normally, versus a Baron, it's very hard to do it when you're playing into the likes of a Carthus, but Destiny's getting used. They know where the members are. Kevo's just going to get jumped onto instantly. The shields are not going to be enough. Tempered Fate gets used onto Simply, and Simply flashes forward, only to be taken down. Ence just looks scattered in this game. Champen slides in for another kill. Meanwhile, Nilly wasn't even with the team. He's just looking to push bot lane.
I mean, it was just flawlessly played by Godsent, did everything they needed to exactly. Nilly doesn't even bother to TP in because essentially they knew they couldn't win the fight. They wanted to try and get a steal. They knew if they didn't, the game was essentially over. And now it is, to be honest. Even if they, I think they can finish off this push, but even if they choose not to, Ence are looking dire right now. Taiki's there to try and defend. Nilly showed up as well. Godsent, they're looking for it.
Taiki trying to zone away on the side, but turret number 1's going to go down. Nilly tries to slide in forward, gets all the CC layered onto him, and Champen 7 and 3 on the Camille right now. Kevo steps forward, but he is doing next to no damage. Nexus goes down at 30 minutes. Godsend get the win over Ence.
And there's a lot of situations there where I talked about Ence, and I was like, why are Ence doing this? Why are Ence doing that? Some critical moments, but I want to just really heavily praise Godsent here. I think Godsent played this extremely smart. I think Seaboy, the map split level 1 and the consequences of the knock-on effect they had was huge. It gave them that early momentum. It protected Champion, who became massive later on. And I think it didn't stop there. Sometimes we've seen Godsent lose control of the game after a point. They continued it. They kept applying pressure. They knew how to play their composition well, and it became almost impossible for Ence to get into that one. I think this is a vastly improved Godsent, and with that win, they still keep themselves in the race for playoffs. So a huge achievement for them. And if this team does make it to playoffs, they actually look like a convincing side there. I think there are teams who are locked into playoffs right now who I think they could definitely challenge.
That was a very clean game by Godsent. They understood their win conditions well. They knew how to shut Ence down, and Ence looked scattered as they fell further and further behind. Champen getting his hands onto the Camille. It's been banned away pretty much the entire tournament for him, and showing us why. Just a completely masterful display there. Seaboy as well. Just he's been the pillar for this team. This is what was highlighted by Gulborg on the desk. He has been the pillar for Godsent, and he really was. Now, guys, we are going to throw it to a break. And when we're back with the analyst desk to break that game down. So we will see you in a second.
stop us now. Nothing gonna bring us down.
And actually, Godsent winning there, it was a must-win for the team. That means they are tied head-to-head with Ence in terms of win-loss record, and it has allowed them to keep level in the standings. So that was a huge win for Godsent. They absolutely needed it, and when the chips were down, they delivered.
I'm going to be very honest. Yes, Godsent deserve a ton of praise for how they won that game. But we did point out that whoever had the easier to execute composition would probably end up winning the game. And I've never seen someone lose to their keyboard as hard as Ence did. That was really something special to watch how many times they fumbled the execution on that composition. And then Godsent were like, okay. Like, don't get me wrong. When a team throws, you do need to praise the team that catched. And Godsent definitely caught that one. But oh boy, that was fine fiesta.
I am so passionate about talking about the mistakes coming in from Ence, but I'm gonna leave it there. Because every one of us had predicted Ence as the winner here, and Godsent did execute on the points coming through. Yes, we can talk about how Ence didn't really play to the win conditions and everything like that, but in the end, Godsent did improve on some of the things we've seen coming out for them. Didn't completely in laning phase, especially not down in the bot side. Champion had his own kind of playstyle where he didn't really need much attention coming through. Steeboy had the better counter jungle from the get-go, where he left one camp, so inevitably he would become faster, level 5 or 6, to that dragon fight where he actually could just go back and smite it. So there was all these micro things that Godsent actually did better, and I feel like we should compliment them no matter how bad Ence just played.
And I'm with you. I'm all up for Godsent. I was voting for Godsent. I was predicting Godsent in the starting weeks. But then we talked about Ence and how they were on an upward stride. And then suddenly they face a wall. They've reached their ceiling and it can't go any further up. And then we see Cephei pulling them out of a hole over and over again. And even though, sure, Ence are good as a team. Sure, they've upgraded their playstyle and everything. For me, it's Cephei still making the plays and you caging him on a karma. He cannot engage for you. He cannot make the plays for you, and he can definitely not catch his opponents off guard. So a complete swap in the playstyle for Ence is what I feel completely caught them off guard, because when it was completely up to the top side of the map to make plays, they felt completely lost. And in the end, obviously props to Godsent who were there to snatch that win away, because it was so important for the playoffs run.
Which is why I'm pulling up the play of the day, or I guess the play of the game, and it was the amazing outplay on this Bard performance from Godsent. I feel like this was just like this was the moment where you were like, everything has gone so sideways for Ence, because you're like, yes, finally, they're using their composition, they're attacking a side lane. Holy, that Bard just used his ultimate to deny the Karthus, and now everything has gone wrong. Multiple teleports come in, and Trouble, as you were talking about, like, Cephei on the back end here does have some nice moves with the Karma. It does get a little bit more crazy on this, but at the end of the day, like, this was the moment that I knew. I was like, Ence don't know how to play this comp. Godsent is going to play with their food here. This one's probably all over.
We're gonna see the whole clip. Yeah.
More people coming in.
Because I was like, are we seeing all the teleports?
This is the clown car of teleports.
This is where it really just went wrong. I'm like, simply no, don't teleport in, and simply walks back in, and not a teleport comes
Double
in.
down.
Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Here he comes, and triple teleport coming in. And what's that? Destiny used, the Galliol used again. It's just all these global things being used for 10 meters apart. This fight was one of the most chaotic things I've ever seen in this league.
I don't know about you, I enjoyed it.
You were talking about kind of like the micro performances of Godsent, that yes, Ence threw it, but Godsent did a good job to catch, and how they did it with their mechanics and their micro thinking. It's super simple, but obviously just the good communication there of, hey, I'm Galio, I have ultimate. If they chase in, we can ult and chase them back down. Like, there's no kill pressure here. And that was kind of the thing that Ence weren't counting on. They were just thinking one-dimensional. I have teleport, I will chase him down, I will kill him. Shit, there's a Galio ult.
Yeah, and
I think everybody.
Globals that it felt like Ence was keeping. Godsent was keeping more track of, because if you think about all the teleports and all the globals, including the ultimates of Senna and Karthus that were put in there, and they were constantly keeping this in mind, but Ence wasn't. Props to them.
Absolutely. Actually, do you know what? I've got a Mikma standing by for an interview, and I'm actually going to go probe his thoughts on this because, firstly, he proved everybody in terms of predictions wrong. Mikma, obviously getting the win here means all of the Ence predictions have gone out the window, which you can have a little laugh about, I'm sure.
Yeah.
First of all, that game specifically, did you feel very confident coming out of the draft that you were going to be able to execute in a better way than Ence?
I think my coach Vendetto, he made a lot of work this week to make sure that we would have a draft that would counter them, and he did so much work to just prep us for this game. So yeah, I think we ended up having a good draft, especially because we got smashed last week against Riddle with that TF.
And so was this specifically like you knew that TF was going to be played, and you wanted to give Champion a really strong side lane, like his Camille, for instance, was something that came up really nicely in this game. Was this specifically just like, okay, Mikma, get on Galio, counter any TF that you see, kind of counter the global pressure? Is that what you were looking to do?
Yeah, with the Galio, we just wanted to counter the global pressure, also because every time a TF ults in, if you are hovering the right side on Galio, then the TF will die to his own ult.
Sure, yeah, and I think there were some Fiesta plays, let's be fair. There were some absolutely Fiesta plays that game, but you were the guys that scraped it up and took advantage, and that's worth credit, you know. We've talked to a lot of teams about identity, and talking about like what your team's identity is. Where do you think your playstyle fits? What do you think your identity is as a team? Like, who do you play through? What is your kind of your average play style? Because it's something that is difficult to work out for everybody, but do you guys feel like you've got an identity?
Not really. I think a lot of the analysts and casters said in the start that we were like top focused, play around champion, while others were playing through the bot lane. And now I feel like we can, as I said actually in an earlier interview, we can play around top, we can play around mid, we can play around bot. We've tried all of it. I think we can execute on all of it.
Yeah, I think this game you had the pick of both, realistically. You had Champion on his Camille, you had a really strong bot lane that you were looking to play through as well, and it worked out. And more importantly, that was a must-win game for you. If you lost there, you were technically out of playoffs. That was like, chips are down, you needed to win. And now I believe you and Ence have got a game left each. You are taking on, I'm just going to double check this, you're taking on Nordavind, and Ence are taking on BTXL, and I believe, I'm not going to get quoted on this, but I believe the winner goes through into playoffs. If you, whichever team wins out of those, if you get both win, you get a tied in terms for head-to-head there. So how are you feeling going into Nordavind tomorrow? Because that's going to be your most important game, obviously, of the split, realistically, after this one.
Yeah, I feel like last time we met Nordavind, we didn't execute our comp right after the early game, after a good early game. And then we kind of threw it away. I think we fixed a lot of those mistakes, and today we also showed that we fixed a lot of mistakes compared to last week's. So I feel confident. I think we can beat them.
Hey, I think you've definitely set yourself up for success this week, and I wish you all the luck, because that is going to be a very important game. Mikma, thank you so much for joining me, and I will hopefully get to chat to you soon.
Bye.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
Bye, Mikma.
I think he might have been the first person that's ever waved at the end of an interview, which is quite sweet. Oh, guys, look, I'm going to wind this one down. We're going to prepare for our final game of the night, which is going to be Dusty versus Monster Rugby Gaming. We're flipping it over to Group B, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.